The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, is preparing for his autumn statement, and in advance of that we've published our annual Green Budget. In terms of the current year, it looks like there's some good news for the Chancellor. Inflation is finally coming down in the UK, and we think that the government's on course to borrow less than expected back in March. We think possibly the deficit could be £20 billion lower than what the Chancellor had forecast. Unfortunately for Mr Hunt, that's where the good news pretty much ends. Over the medium term, we don't think the outlook for the deficit is any better than what he predicted back in March, and we think debt is roughly going to stabilise at a pretty similar level. That means the scope for tax cuts on those plans is really very, very limited. And those plans actually already involve some policy settings which are pretty questionable. They're based on the idea that the rates of fuel duty will go up each April in line with inflation. That's very unlikely to happen, given past performance. We know the government has already said that if the public finances get better, they want to spend more on overseas aid. The Chancellor has said he wants to make his full expensing policy and corporation tax permanent rather than temporary. And the Chancellor has also penciled in some spending plans for the period from March 2025 that look very questionable. Outside key areas of government, they would imply a return to some austerity. And it's not clear to us that those spending plans really will be kept to the other side of a general election. So the scope for tax cuts looks really rather questionable, and Mr Hunt would do better to avoid them.